let's just say we're gonna take off, and that's about as good as we can hope.
We are flying to the tip of Greenland with a heading of 296.
You should be flying north. You should be flying north. It's been 2.5 hours since they left. I don't know where they are. The last communications we had from them were that they weren't sure where they were going, and then we lost communication.
The North Pole. One of the most isolated and remote locations on Earth, with some of the most notoriously unforgiving conditions. It is only accessible for aircraft to land on for less than a few months of the year. Even to the specially designed multi-engine jets and heavy-duty helicopters used by scientific expeditions to the region. Simply getting there remains a tremendous task and an enormous risk. The temperature is around 30 degrees centigrade below zero. The weather is treacherous and unpredictable, and navigation is highly challenging. However, father-son aviator team Helmut and Henrik Polzer have decided to attempt this journey in a single-engine Cessna 206 stationary plane, making the journey as dangerous now as it was in the 1940s.
Let's just say we're gonna take off, and that's about as good as we can hope. Thank you very much.
Have a good flight.
Yeah, thank you.
Be safe.
Yeah, be safe.
This journey will push them beyond the limits of modern GPS technology and the demands of flying to the North Pole. Landing and returning safely will test the endurance of both man and machine.
It is dangerous. We can't guarantee pretty much anything, really. And we certainly can't guarantee that they're going to make it there or alive. And even with all the right equipment, if you end up in the water, you've got less than an hour. It remains a risky endeavor.
An attempt such as this requires careful planning and a range of expertise. Helmut and Henrik have enlisted the help of Sam Rutherford, who runs Prepare to Go, a company that plans and coordinates many expeditions and adventures around the world. Yet this is a first even for Sam and Prepare to Go. It is Sam's job to plan the route, organize the logistics, and ensure that all possible safety considerations have been thought of and dealt with. Routes need to be drawn up, permissions sought and granted, bookings made for travel, transport, and accommodation, risk assessments carried out, and safety procedures put in place, and fuel arranged at each leg of the trip, including at the North Pole for the return journey.
I think there's going to be a lot of problems. But that's not to say it's not worth trying.
Many things we have to think about: the weather, how to land on the ice, and oil, food, and polar bear.
Permissions as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know who owns it.
Yeah.
This isn't a place. This isn't a country. There's a lot to think about. That's the thing. We have to make sure as well that we make it as safe as possible.
Yeah.
If you have an engine failure over France, you land in a field and you'll normally be okay. Yeah, you have an engine failure, you end up in the water.
Okay.
And survival then is difficult.
Since leaving the armed forces, Sam lives in Belgium and runs his company with the help of his wife Bea and a dedicated team who are responsible for managing all of these elements.
Like this one, which in this case is a Pelican case, and they're usually watertight. And then we'll have some survival gear in here, like a beacon, a water filter. This is an emergency first aid kit, light, which is very important if it would happen to go down or have a problem at any stage. We as a team, we know each other clearly quite a while and quite well. We are married since 11 years now. And the other people, we've done other trips with them, other flying trips. So yes, we know the team, and we entirely we entirely trust them.
This sort of trip tends to be a fairly niche character trait of people who actually want to come on this trip all the way to the North Pole. It's a necessary requirement that we all get on and that we all help each other out. To start with, everything will be working perfectly and be running perfectly smoothly. But as time goes on, we will probably have minor problems with aircraft. People will get tired or stressed or worried. And it's at that stage that they need to be able to get on with the other members of the team to solve any problems and keep smiling, whatever happens.
If something is missed or forgotten, if there is a miscalculation, they cannot call air traffic control for help, land at the nearest airport, or even put down in a field. Here there is nothing except ice, freezing water, and the occasional hungry polar bear. An accident or a critical failure of equipment during the flight will mean a life-threatening situation, very likely ending in the worst possible scenario, the death of Helmut and Henrik.
I think we can do like this. We start from Norway, fly over here, and then land into the pole. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. And then the other one we can do is we look at the distance and you say, maybe if there's anywhere up here right at the top of Greenland.
Yeah.
Or maybe here right at the top of Canada. Because we're going to need permission to get there.
Yeah.
We don't yet know if we need permission to be there, but to get there, we're going to need permission.
Yes.
So it's either from the Russians, and that's always difficult with the Russians, or it's from these guys. What is this? Norway. Okay, so that's a Norwegian thing. So that should be easy enough. That's Europe, no problem. Greenland, Denmark. Yeah.
Yeah, Denmark.
And then Canada, obviously Canada. So those shouldn't be a problem. The key thing for the small aircraft is they can't get there and back on one tank of fuel. So there is going to be a stage where they have to continue.
And they have any refuel out there?
Well, no, that's what we'll have to try and organise.
We have to fly it in.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a whole different thing as well.
Okay.
But more importantly, if they get 2/3 of the way and then the weather goes bad, they've got a problem. They've got a big problem because they can't get back. Doesn't matter where they're starting from, they can't get back. And if they can't carry on because of the weather in front of them, they're gonna have to put it down in the water. I have no idea if we get up there and then you make a phone call back to, or you go on the radio and you get back to Longyearbyen or northern Greenland. Where's the nearest search and rescue helicopter?
Well, I think when we're able to have permission, from one of the country, for example, Denmark, they should help us because they give us permission.
Even if they say, yeah, we'll come and rescue, but if their nearest helicopter is down here somewhere, and it's going to take them a day to get to you.
Yeah, that's true.
In the water there, even with the right equipment, if you're in the water, you're dead in an hour. It's it's not a place to be playing. It's almost that we need to organise our own search and rescue facility based at the pole. So that means we need to fly up our own big search and rescue helicopter there, just in case. So we're going to need some quite significant support. They really need to be in a suit with all the warm gear underneath, the whole lot. But even with all the suits and everything else, they still need to be able to get out of the aircraft and into a raft. And once they're in a raft, then they've got a few hours. We're going to have to ask the guys to sign some sort of disclaimer on this. They're going to have to understand that it is dangerous. We can't guarantee pretty much anything, really. And we certainly can't guarantee that they're going to make it there or alive.
Regardless of where the aviators choose to stage their attempt from, the flight to the pole is far too far for the plane to make it there and back on a single tank of fuel. This means that not only will they need to arrange for refueling at the pole, but also that during the attempt, the plane will pass a PNR, a point of no return. The PNR is reached when the plane no longer has enough fuel to return to wherever it took off from. From that point on, they will have to continue, regardless of weather conditions or other problems, and the only way out, if things turn bad, will be to ditch the plane on the ice, or worse, in the freezing waters. There are no weather services covering their route to the pole. Icing conditions, which are highly likely, would soon overwhelm such a small plane. They are literally flying into the unknown. Sam and his team still haven't found a suitable landing site at the pole itself, or if they need permission to land there.
Once we started our research, we discovered two things. The first one, two positive things. The first one was that the North Pole doesn't belong to anybody. It is indeed just a large lump of frozen ice. So that was the first potential or possible problem that just went away. And the second one was that actually every year there's a small ice strip that is built about 30 miles away from the pole for various scientific exploration and various expeditions. And so we were able to make use of that. So we contacted the Russian operators of the base and have negotiated that they're going to let us in for the first time ever. They're going to let a group of light aircraft use the airstrip. Well, I've had a good look at all the options now. And certainly for us, coming up from Europe, I think our best bet is up through Norway or Sweden to Tromsø, Tromsø to Longyearbyen, here on the island of Svalbard, which is still controlled by Norway, and then from there up to the pole. That gives us one leg of 500 nautical and another leg then of 700 nautical here. The other advantage, if we've got any helicopters who want to come along, they can refuel here on Bjornøya, and then here they can land on the ice.
All right.
After 200 miles or so, and again, just top up with their fuel. So that makes it, that's also possible for helicopters. Coming out from Greenland would be really nice, but we've got a lot of potentially difficult weather and difficult flights and fuel logistics all the way up here up the east coast, and it's a long way around. So I think it's going to be, if there's my little aeroplane, Tromsø, Longyearbyen, and then the pole.
Ruled by a governor appointment by Norway, no passport or visa is required to visit. Yet it has taken Sam years of negotiation to secure permission to use it as a staging post for the attempt.
The governor of Svalbard is saying that we can't go through there on our way to the pole. I've just got an email from him, secondary law, blah, 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 blah. The use of aircraft for sightseeing is prohibited in Svalbard. The only exception to this is scheduled flights and or charter flights to from Svalbard and all the settlements. And then he's got underlined here, individual flights like the one you intend to do is therefore not allowed.
Tourist flights of light aircraft are prohibited to protect the environment and avoid disturbing polar bears and other wildlife.
We're not going sightseeing in Svalbard. We're on our way to the pole. I'm gonna have to look up what this secondary law thing is and respond.
Svalbard will just be a staging post, so Sam argued that this rule doesn't apply to their plan, and he appeals the decision.
That doesn't work. So after we got got turned down by the governor, I sent a reply email saying, well, actually, we're not going to Svalbard for sightseeing, we're on our way to the pole. So I'm not sure, A, that the rule applies to us, and B, that therefore your decision to deny us passage is fair or correct. So I got a response saying no, that decision has been made, and then I asked, that's fine, in case I wish to appeal it. Sent our emailed appeal back in. Took another sort of 2 or 3 weeks. Our appeal, again by the governor of Svalbard, was turned down. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. I requested to appeal that decision, at which I was told that it had to go to Trondheim on mainland Norway. So I said, yes, I'd like to do that, please. They sent me all the details, information, so I filled out all the documents, sent again an emailed appeal to Trondheim. Trondheim sat in it for a few weeks. Came back to me, again, denied. At this stage, perhaps I should have given up, but I didn't. So I contacted them back and said, I'm still not happy. I still don't believe that this decision is correct. I wish to appeal again. What's the basis on which I can do that? And they said the only way to do that was to apply to the Minister of Tourism of Norway in Oslo. So I did that, by which time we were probably another 2 or 3 months further down the line. And then after 2 or 3 weeks, again, Oslo came back saying that they were in agreement with our position, that the governor's decision was therefore overruled. And interestingly, they finished with a final line saying this decision is final. So I'm very grateful to the Norwegian system. With that letter, we're now good to go. One of the ways that we tried to accelerate the process, because we were running up against the deadline, was I actually informed the governor that we were going to come anyway. It was a bit of a bluff. We were actually already out of time. But I told him we were coming anyway, and if he thought that his rules and regulations applied to us, then we'd have it out on the apron in Svalbard. I had one of the journalists in Svalbard picked up on the story and started running some items, including a front page one in which he repeated my bluff to be coming up whether he gave permission or not. So we achieved a minor notoriety on this island way off the north coast of Norway.
After more than a year of emails and phone calls, Sam at last secured all the permissions necessary for the team to use the island as the launch point. And the Russians, who control operations at Camp Barneo, have agreed for them to use their facilities to land the aircraft and for refueling. The team are making good progress planning their route and staging point for their attempt to fly to the pole. The original plan was for a number of aircraft to make the journey, but in the face of the dangers and difficulties, they have all dropped out, except for Helmut and Henrik. The date for the attempt and the route they will take are now fixed. From Belgium and Germany, the team will meet up at Tromsø, Norway, then fly on to Longyearbyen in the archipelago of islands known as Svalbard. From there, they will attempt to fly to Camp Barneo, out on the ice at the North Pole. The attempt will need to be made in April when the weather is a relatively balmy minus 30 degrees centigrade, but the ice is still just thick enough to land a plane on, and before it is broken up by the force of the sea's underwater currents. The navigation from Longyearbyen to the pole is far from straightforward. Aside from the unpredictability of the weather with no forecasts available for their flight, the remoteness and uniqueness of the region creates even greater problems.
Clearly, when we set off for the North Pole, we need to be able to find it. Traditionally, navigation is done with a compass and a map, but we have a couple of problems when we're going to the North Pole. Firstly, the compass, which is up here, is pointing at magnetic north, not pointing at geographic north. So that actually will take us about 700 miles in the wrong direction. So we don't have a compass, and there's obviously no map because we're going to somewhere that's in the middle of a large amount of frozen water. So in the absence of map or compass, we move to more modern alternatives, which is the GPS.
For example, on this GPS, because the mapping stops at just a little further north than Svalbard, it won't actually operate further north. We can't program a GPS further north than that.
They will be navigating with little more assistance than what was available during the 1900s when the first successful flights to the North Pole were accomplished. Although Richard Beard and Floyd Bennett claimed to have been the first to fly over the North Pole, the first verified and scientifically convincing aerial attainment of the North Pole was on May 12, 1926, by Norwegian explorer Roald Amundsen in the Italian-built airship Norge. The Sever II expedition, a Soviet enterprise in 1948, saw 3 planes from Kotelny Island fly to the North Pole on April 23rd. However, it is likely the men who landed were not at the true geographic North Pole. This was most likely accomplished on May 3, 1952 by U.S. Air Force officers William Pershing Benedict and Joseph O. Fletcher, who successfully landed their twin-engine C-47 Skytrain on the ice, a large and highly capable aircraft for its time, after specially equipping it with skis. The geographic North Pole has long been an enticing destination for explorers, and many of the records associated with it are disputed due to the difficulty in establishing its precise location. Despite many claiming to have reached it prior, Fletcher is possibly the first man to ever stand directly at the geographic North Pole. The magnetic pole is slowly drifting towards Russia, but the geographic pole is a fixed point. However, out on the featureless expanse of ice, it can be very difficult to determine when the pole has been reached, particularly as it is constantly moving at a few miles an hour. There is no land at the North Pole, just a huge area of frozen water that floats freely and constantly changes, and so there is no formal marker of the North Pole. The first planes flown in the region were made of wood and fabric and had no electronics aboard at all. Yet Helmut and Henrik's plane has little better chance of navigating successfully today, and despite being made of modern materials, it is still completely vulnerable to icing if the weather turns against them. The plane itself has been packed with extreme care in order to ensure that they take all the survival equipment and supplies that can be fitted in, given the strict weight limits they have. This includes emergency equipment such as the bulky survival suits that need to be worn throughout the flight and will buy Henrik and Helmut a precious hour or so in case of the worst happening, and they find themselves in the deadly cold water. Henrik and Helmut have flown from Luxembourg to Stockholm before arriving in Tromsø, right at the northern edge of Norway.
In Tromsø, it's nice, snowy and cold outside, but it's getting warmer. There is some warm weather coming in from the west. And there was a beautiful flight. We flew up in 9,000 feet all the way from Skavta in a direct route. And when we got over the mountains, it was snowy and it was very, very beautiful. So tomorrow is the 15th. On the 16th, the organizer will come and we'll meet up with the rest of the crew. And on the 17th, we will fly to Svalbard, and hopefully on the 18th to the pole if the weather allows it. And yeah, but it was a wonderful flight. We had almost perfect weather. We landed in Tromsø in sunshine. We actually needed a sunglasses for the first time this trip. And we're excited because on Wednesday, well, the trip will officially start, and it's a big day.
But the plane has already suffered engine failure.
We had a turbine problem yesterday, with the result that the advanced team went on to where we are now here in Svalbard, and they had a technician fly up with a spare part yesterday evening. Murphy's Law being what it is, the technician safely arrived, but the part didn't. From where this morning we had very little, we had 2 plans. They found the lost part, and that's coming up all by itself on a flight, hopefully for this evening. And we think we found another spare part in Stuttgart, which we'll get in the air immediately and set off up here for Longyearbyen. That would involve leaving Tromsø at night, which is not ideal, but not a disaster either. But we had our last sunset here last night. The next sunset is going to be in 4 months' time, so at least their arrival is guaranteed to be in daylight. And then we will turn them around quickly and try and get them on their way to the pole. So we've had a couple of setbacks, but the show goes on.
Everyone works hard on checking and double-checking the plane and the engine before departing for the islands of Svalbard.
Well, the latest is that they're on their way, partially fixed, which is quite brave, really. Well, they are going to leave Tromsø before the spare part arrives, in fact, to come up here to Longyearbyen for a few hours and then carry on to the pole. So as long as their repair works, they'll be absolutely fine. But if in fact they did really, or they were really better off replacing the part rather than sort of fiddling with it, then they have a slightly bigger problem. But at least the spare part will just be in Tromsø. So it is closer than Frankfurt, which is where it was. It's a gutsy move. I don't know if it's a decision I would have taken.
The archipelago of Svalbard is one of the most fascinating places on Earth. The largest of the islands is Spitsbergen, and it's here at the island's largest settlement of Longyearbyen, whose airport serves as the world's gateway to Svalbard and the North Pole, that the Aviators will be launching from. Located more than 800 miles above the Arctic Circle but kept relatively warm by the North Atlantic Current, it is illegal to die here. The cemetery was closed 70 years ago due to the ground being in permafrost, meaning bodies will not decompose. However, it can be difficult to uphold this law when the polar bears outnumber the human inhabitants and dangerous encounters are frequent. It is also home to the northernmost university in the world and the northernmost ATM, as well as the global seed bank. 60% of the islands are covered by glaciers, and 23 nature reserves cover 2/3 of the archipelago, ensuring it is largely untouched wilderness.
the sun is not going to go down for another 4 months from now. The sun is clearly high in the sky, and it is now just gone 10 past midnight. It may get a little lower over the next hour or so, and then in a little bit it's going to come a little higher again. So I actually love it.
The team has made it to Svalbard. Helmut and Henrik are keen to make their attempt for the pole despite the difficulties of flying without a map, compass, or GPS to navigate by, into uncertain weather conditions that could mean they have to ditch in the water, cold enough to kill them in minutes, if not securely in their survival suits.
It's essential to heat the engine, and especially the oil of the battery. If the oil is too thick when we start the engine sort of incinerates itself, explodes, because the oil is so thick that the metal can't hold it anymore. We have minus 12 to 13 degrees right now, so the oil gets pretty much very close to being solid. And the battery also needs to be warmed up because the voltage taken away from the battery on the start is immense. If it were not warm, the battery would just as well break or be not able to charge anymore later. And that's why we're heating it right now with gas and a huge oversized air tank.
However, on the dawn of their attempt, the engine fails again.
So we're here, morning of departure. Just tried to start the engine, and the same problem as 2 days ago. The injectors won't fire up. So we're going to do the same solution as we did 2 days ago. Get the injectors out, give them a clean, put a cloth, put it back in, and hopefully it'll all work. We'll then see what we want to do then, as whether we send them on to the North Pole with a certain piece of cloth and a crossed fingers, or whether we hold fire for the engineer to come up with the actual replacement part. Clearly, if they decide to go on the basis of our interesting repair, they could have the same problem at the North Pole. At the North Pole, clearly the stakes are much higher. Hopefully the same repair from here will also work up there. If it doesn't, at that stage we're looking at trying to get an engineer and the correct part on some other aircraft, I'm not sure what, up to the pole as quickly as possible. The problem is we only have 2 or 3 days before Borneo closes. So if they do go up there, if they have the same problem and they can't fix it themselves, we're really against the clock.
What we had in Polzer is the problem with the spark plug not working properly, and now we're flying in a technician with some spare parts, and hopefully by tonight we'll have it working so we can get going. Spark plug sparks the engine of the turbine, and you only need it once to start the fire, but that one thing is there that you can't start the engine, therefore not fly. So now we're waiting for spare parts so we can get going hopefully by tonight.
This time the team decide they need an engineer to be brought in to fix it, to ensure the plane is safe to make the journey. Meanwhile, the team waits.
Yeah, we got a lot of problems with the plane.
If you get yourselves over the pole and you can't talk to anybody and you don't have sufficient fuel to get back here, send me a message. I can send you the coordinates for Nord, which is an American military base in northern Greenland, which is fractionally closer than here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, but that remains very much a plan B.
Yes, right now he is firing the engine up. I changed parts, the ignition exciter and also his spark plug. And Hopefully he fires the engine up and it works immediately. Otherwise, we got other bigger problems. So we will see how it works out. Now back to Helmut.
Finally, the engine is fixed, and after a night's sleep in a hotel in Longyearbyen, the team set off back to the airport.
Finally, after weeks of planning and getting here, one last step to the top of the world.
The Aviators are keen to begin their challenging adventure. The team make their way to the runway.
Oh, let's go. Oh, let's go.
Smile at me. First, he landed in the ice cup.
From Sam. The first 206 and definitely the first turbine 206 that will land at the North Pole.
Yeah, that's true. Perhaps.
But yes, before we continue talking, we have to stop because we've jinxed it so many times this trip. Let's just say we're gonna take off, and that's about as good as we can hope. Thank you very much.
Okay, fine. Yeah, thank you. Safe. Yeah, be safe tomorrow.
Sam now heads up to the control tower. The father-son Aviators are off. They have found an old handheld GPS to use that has the capability to program in a heading beyond 70 degrees north all the way to the pole. However, it will only provide them a basic heading.
Roger, we read you strength 2. Have you sorted out your navigation?
As they approach the limit of their radio communications around 70 miles out, Henrik radios in.
Delta India Whiskey from Longyear Tower. Do you copy?
Hello, Sam. Yes, we copy.
Okay, how are you guys getting on there?
When we are following the two handheld GPS and we are perfectly on the line, when we look onto our airplane GPS, which is still accurate at these heights, it is telling us we are flying to the tip of Greenland with a heading of 296. Is this somewhat correct?
What bearing are their handhelds giving you?
They are way off course.
We are reaching a heading of 296 and going to the north of Greenland. This is only if we follow the line on the map. If we go to the handheld where it tells us the bearing or
You should be flying north. You should be flying north.
The situation is truly desperate. Almost certainly fatal for Helmut and Henrik, if not corrected very quickly. If they continue heading in the wrong direction, not only will they run out of fuel over the sea, but Sam will have no idea where they will be when this happens. To make matters worse, even if they do correct their heading, They need to do so before they pass the PNR. Otherwise, they will have gone too far off course to make it to the pole before they run out of fuel. Anxiously, Sam immediately begins broadcasting on the emergency radio channels in the vain hope of contacting the Aviators.
Do you copy?
Delta Echo Bravo in.
And along your turn, nothing heard. Just back from the airport now. The last that we had was that they weren't sure where they were going, and then we lost communications, which is far from ideal, and it's actually quite worrying. There's not a lot we can do for the moment. I hope that if they continue to have any sort of problems, that they will turn around and come back. Hopefully we'll get an update in an hour's time or so, and the critical moment will be in about 3.5 hours' time, when they either find the airfield or they don't, and we're not sure if at that stage they'll have enough fuel to come back. So the next 3 hours are critical.
Just by pure luck, a Scandinavian Airlines flight at 37,000 feet, heading in the opposite direction, happens to be passing overhead Helmut and Henrik's plane. The commercial flight is able to relay messages on an emergency frequency between the Longyearbyen Tower and Henrik, and they correct their course. Unfortunately for them, the Scandinavian Airlines flight soon passes out of range, leaving Helmut and Henrik completely on their own again, out of radio contact. It is a 5-hour flight to Camp Barneo, a white airstrip on a featureless white expanse of ice, almost impossible to spot in clear weather, even when close, and Sam has no idea what weather Helmut and Henrik will encounter. The ice it is on can be drifting at 3 miles per hour, so between the time that the pair left Longyearbyen and the time they arrive around 5 hours later, the location of Camp Barneo could have moved 15 miles, far too far away for them to spot the runway. They just have to hope that they can find it, and quickly, before their fuel runs out.
It's been 2.5 hours since they left. I'm beginning to get a bit worried now. It wasn't great 2 hours ago, but 2 hours further on of silence is not helpful.
Helmut and Henrik keep searching for Camp Barneo. They have to find it.
Barneo Tower, Delta Echo Bravo Whiskey. Do you have sight of us or can you hear us?
In desperation, Henrik calls Camp Barneo on the radio, asking, "Can you see us or hear us?" After another 15 minutes of searching, they finally locate Camp Barneo and the runway. Following 4.8 hours of flight, Henrik and Helmut have found the runway and landed safely. After a very anxious 5 hours, finally, at 4:15 p.m., Sam receives a call from Barneo.
Excellent. Enjoy. Great news. Well done, guys. Well done.
At the pole, they meet an expedition team who have just completed the journey on foot, and everyone's mood is jubilant as they complete the last few miles across the ice to the geographic pole. Spirits are high. The Aviators have achieved their goal of reaching the North Pole against the odds. However, the challenge is not over. In fact, it is only half done. After refueling and spending a night on the ice, they need to make the return flight. As before, they have no weather predictions and will again be flying completely on their own for most of the trip, until they can again make radio contact with Longyearbyen Tower when close to Svalbard. They were incredibly lucky last time that a commercial flight was overhead on their outward trip, just at the time they needed it. They are unlikely to be so lucky on the way back. If they make a mistake this time, help will be hard to come by.
I can't get hold of the guys, Henrik and Helmut, in the plane up at the pole. I need to get hold of them because I need to know what their plans are, and I need to tie in with that whether the weather here is going to be good enough for their return or not, or whether they should wait or hurry up. We had some snow here overnight, so I'd like to try and find out what their plans are and get them back here before the weather deteriorates at all. I can't get hold of them at the moment. I'm going to try and give a call now to the camp up at the North Pole to let them know what the situation is here down in Svalbard and try and coordinate their return flight. We're only halfway there. We need to get them home again now.
Much worse than the prospect of radio silence for most of the way, they have been unable to contact Sam before they depart Camp Barneo to inform him and to file a flight plan. This is vital. Separate parts of the airspace on the way to Svalbard is fiercely guarded by 3 nations who routinely scramble military jets to intercept, and if there is no response, shoot down planes that should not be there. Sam receives an unexpected phone call relayed from the tower at Svalbard.
Well, the latest chapter in our little adventure has just come in the form of a phone call from the Norwegian CAA. The crew were supposed to advise me before they left from the ice field. But now, unfortunately, they've just got in the air, and I'm trying to file a flight plan after they've taken off. The result of that is that the aircraft is presently transgressing Russian, Danish, and Norwegian military airspace without any sort of clearance or permission.
The Norwegian Air Force has an unidentified plane in their airspace and are preparing to engage it. Sam hurriedly informs them of Helmut and Henrik's flight, and disaster is averted. The Aviators have no idea until they land how close they came to a sudden and wholly unexpected end. At last, they arrive back. The plane and its pilots have survived their adventure. They have managed to cross more than 1,500 miles of frozen ocean and ice. They have overcome enormous obstacles and dangers to achieve their dream of being among the very few aviators to have ever flown a small aircraft to the pole and returned.
Welcome back. Well done, good job.
Celebrating on the runway, it has been the adventure of a lifetime for Henrik and Helmut, and another great success for Sam and the Prepare to Go team. But both will soon be looking for the next challenge.